Yeah, fucking Joe Giles, man. Oh,
Fuck
good.
Joe
Oh,
Giles.
we're getting me recording talking about Adam Gates talking about me talking about him touching kids. That's been recorded.
That was not recorded.
Okay, well
now
it's
it was. Now it is.
Okay. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the Football Trash Talk for Real Fans podcast, discussion, video, whatever you want to call it. This was Joe Giles' brainchild to get everybody involved, and he is Ghost. So we're just going to carry on anyway. I mean, obviously there's something to talk about with Stafford going to the fucking Rams. That's pretty huge. And they basically raped Los Angeles.
Yeah. You know, Lloyd, it's funny. I was in a chat, and I swear to God, 25 minutes before it happened, I just randomly was like, you know, Stafford on the Rams would be pretty sick. And like 20 minutes later, I was go. That was lucky, but you know,
it is sick.
Stafford, it is sick. Stafford's gonna be sick in the Rams. Goff sucks, but you know.
I mean, if you look at Goff and Wentz, I'll just throw Wentz. Both of them had stellar year 2 and year 3, and then just dropped off the plane. Like, what the fuck happened?
I don't know. I asked myself the same thing about Mark Sanchez. Jared Goff is the new Mark Sanchez. Seriously. Literally. He's just not good. He's so bad, and his contract is so bad that they had to give the Lions an extra first.
Yeah. And then what do the Lions do? Because all of their wide receivers are free agents.
I don't know. Yeah, they're rebuilding. So the key for them is getting those first. I don't think they care about Goff, honestly. I think he's probably a good stopgap. It's one of those. It's like, see if he works out. If he doesn't, he's gone. Doesn't really matter. You know, might as well.
I hope something tells Goff not to go sightseeing in Detroit.
Well, I didn't know you could go sightseeing in Detroit. No. Galladay's probably gone, though. You know, I don't know.
Galladay's probably gone. I mean, they got Hawkinson and they got Swift. That's pretty much it.
Pretty good, but not enough. Yeah, they're rebuilding. They're not trying to win right now. That wasn't a win now move at all. Stafford, though, is going to finally. You know, Stafford's been a very underrated quarterback his whole career because he's been stuck in Detroit. But I think Stafford's going to really surprise people next year. I think he could be like Matt Ryan, like, you know, numbers wise, not last year, but you know, in general.
I would agree with that. He's got a cannon for an arm. He's got a couple burners. They have, if not they have a top 5 defense.
The best defense. Yeah. Yeah. All things that Stafford has never had. Right? He's never had a good defense. He's never had a top anything weapon outside of Calvin Johnson, obviously. You know, never had a real running game. Never. The Lions never had a running game.
Never.
He has all those things now. I mean, this is clearly the Rams saying. First of all, did you know the Rams haven't picked in the first round since 2016, and they now won't pick in the first round until like 2025? Yep. They're basically saying we're going to win. We need to try to win the Super Bowl. They're going all in.
Yep.
That's it. So if they win a ship, good for them. It worked, but they have to win a championship now. 2 years.
They're in a tough division to do that too.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, Seattle still has Russell Wilson. Arizona's got Murray and fucking Hopkins. And San Fran, I mean, for all the talk about Garoppolo being traded, right? Like he's like 24 and 11 as a starting QB in San Fran. He's not a bad quarterback.
Yeah, and we didn't really see Garoppolo last year. I mean, the whole Niners team last year was just destroyed. I mean, you can't really judge them on last year. They lost half their defense. They didn't have a quarterback. Their running backs were hurt. Their receivers were hurt. Their tight end was hurt. Everyone was hurt.
Yeah.
They get a mulligan. So they could easily come back next year and suddenly be, you know, in the championship game again. It wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. It's a good division.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good afternoon. I'm late.
Good morning, Atticus's chin.
Mr.
Listen, I stopped at my office because I needed to do a couple of things, and I was disappointed with a few things. So I'm wildly distracted, but I'm gonna do more listening than anything right now. Okay.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So where do we want to go? We want to talk more about we want to talk more about Stafford, the Rams. Where do we want to go?
I mean, I think the Rams are in the talk for NFC but they're just in a really tough division.
If the Rams don't win the Super Bowl in the next 2 years, it's a failure. What they just did, they have to, because in the next 2 years, first of all, their offensive line's getting older, and they don't have picks to re-up, right? Like they traded them all, so they got to win the next 2 years. The defense is going to start costing more money. They're running out of cap room. They have the most dead cap hit in the league. I think they have $35 million in dead money. Like they're basically like good for them to finish what they're starting. It's better to do that than like kind of walk the line. So good for them. But it's a good situation. I mean, Stafford to me has always been one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the league, just by virtue of where he's been. He could easily be a top 6 quarterback to me.
And he's a tough bastard.
Tough. One of the toughest, actually. I would say he's the toughest quarterback in the league. Easily. Remember when he broke his collarbone and got up and threw a game-winning touchdown?
Yep.
He's wild. He played last year with he played the year before with a broken back. Played the whole year. And then last year, something happened to him. I don't remember what it was. And he played. It was like a broken hip. Like it was something crazy. It's like, what are you doing? How are you playing?
He's been on historically bad teams, and this is exactly what Matt Stafford needed. I can remember it might have even been the first game he played. It wasn't the first game. I think it was on Thanksgiving Day. They were getting their asses handed to him. He dislocated his shoulder, went to the sideline, came right back out, and he scored a touchdown on that drive. And I was like, wow, I'm impressed with this kid. And not for nothing, he's had no sustained talent around him in Detroit for years. This is what he needs to prove himself. And like you said, and Mike and I were talking earlier about this, the Rams put all their cards on the table. They said, right now, we believe Matt Stafford is the difference that we needed to get us to the Super Bowl. If it works, great. Hey, and I think Matt Stafford is very capable. How quickly he assimilates their offense, which I don't think will be a problem for him, getting chemistry with the players over there. That's going to be the deciding difference on whether or not they get a chip or not. Yeah. But what does that say about how they felt about golf, though? They gave away new ones. They spent a lot of draft capital and said, here, we'll throw this motherfucker in too. You can have him. And not for nothing, Golf's not a bad quarterback, but I think he's more of a game manager than a championship quarterback. And I'll say the same thing about Garoppolo. Garoppolo, while he has a winning record, I think he has more talent around him than he is talented, to be perfectly honest with you. So we'll see what happens. It's real interesting, though. Mm-hmm. Listen, we didn't even get to the offseason yet, and we're talking about this. The Super Bowl hasn't been played yet, and we're talking about this. We haven't even talked about Deshaun Watson yet. I don't know if you guys did, but
no,
not yet. We haven't
talked about that yet. But
Atticus, I agree with everything you said except one thing. I don't agree Jared Goff is a good quarterback. I don't. He's not a bad quarterback. Don't get me wrong.
I'm not saying he's good. I'm saying he's tough. He played with a broken finger that was just operated on 10 days before. Yeah. He engineered a game, a scoring drive and a playoff game. I think he has been overrated from the first time I saw him.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely. And his contract, his cap hit, his base salary in 2021 is $25 million.
And obviously, the brain trust in LA thought the same thing. They said, "Here, take this motherfucker too."
Yeah. Well, you know what it is. They basically said, "We made a mistake giving you this contract, and we have to now pay to get you off our books." And they had to pay with it first. And they basically admitted they made a mistake, and that's it. And good for them. I mean, sometimes you have to do that,
Yeah. Listen, the Detroit won bigly on this one. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, definitely. Detroit won. Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. The only thing I'm concerned about for the Rams is You know, because they did. You're right. They basically said if we had Stafford last year, we're in the Super Bowl, and I would agree with that. I think they probably would have been. I think Goff was a big problem for them all year. Right? He wasn't good. But what I'm worried about is, and I worry about this a lot with defenses that have years like this, where you look at this type of defense and you think, okay, if I add this and that, we're going to go to the Super Bowl next year. We've seen a lot. Teams like the Jaguars, you know, even the 49ers to a degree, but they have more of an excuse. It's hard to sustain that type of defense year in and year out. It's really hard to do. And so if that defense takes a step back, and by a step back, I'm saying going from top, like number 1 to top 10, does Stafford really make that type of difference? I don't know. We'll have to find out. He could. It's just hard.
What's going in Stafford's favor also is they got this done before the next season even started. So he'll get a full training camp under his belt. He'll be able to develop some chemistry, understand the playbooks, maybe even understand the philosophy that the coaching staff are trying to do out there. So he's got a good head start.
Well, you know, the big thing too here is that it's good for the Lions for doing this. And the reason I say that is historically, right? You've had players like Barry Sanders say, I want out. You've had players like Calvin Johnson say, I want to move. And the Lions have a reputation for saying, no, screw you. You're under contract and you're going to stay here, whether you like it or not. So this is at least a good indication to Lions fans that something is changing in that building, that things are different. Because the old Lions would have said, sorry, Stafford, you want out, you got to stay. It doesn't really matter. We don't care, right? So good for them for letting him leave.
Yeah.
And that shows that there's probably a cultural shift going on, which is good. Because I even think last year, if this were Patricia and whoever, Caldwell or whatever, they would have said, he might have approached them last year and they probably said no.
Well,
so this is a good sign
for them to start their rebuild too.
Yeah, totally. Because these types of things, when you have that sort of reputation, players don't want to come play for you. You know, and that leads you to the Deshaun Watson situation. It's the same thing. And this is where if the Texans say to Deshaun Watson, we know you want to leave. We know you requested a trade, but eat shit. First of all, the Texans already have an awful reputation for a variety of reasons, right? Their owner, there's issues with the owner politically, which we won't have to get into, but they definitely have issues there, right? Mm-hmm. They have issues with DeAndre Hopkins. They don't have any picks. Now, if they turn around to Deshaun and say sit and too bad, they'll attract nobody. They have to let the guy walk. I don't know what you guys think about that, but
I don't know how they're going to attract people with the coach either. Like, who's this guy Sully? You know,
I don't know.
His claim to fame is he was a wide receivers coach for the Chiefs when they had 0 wide receiver receptions in a season. In a season.
Yeah, I saw that post. Yeah. Who put that post up? Was that you, Mike?
Not me.
Oh.
I think I did. I don't know. But when I saw that, I was like, man, that's like really like this is just the indication of a dysfunctional franchise. Like, how are you? You have all the before this guy, they were thinking about Josh McCown. Like, what are we doing? You have your franchise quarterback screaming that he wants input into the coach, and you're talking about hiring Josh McCown, and then you turn around and hire this guy. Like, wow. I don't know what's going on there.
Well, Groman said it the other day. Like, that whole organization is in complete disarray. Mm-hmm. I mean, when they let Hopkins go last year, it was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And you know what?
I mean, look what they did.
I don't even mind if they want to trade Hopkins. Okay, that's fine. But to get what they got, I mean, it's like, what did they got David Johnson and a third or something? It was like,
for arguably the best receiver in the game.
Yeah, no doubt. So meanwhile, based on the video that you posted, and I think you made a lot of good points, Brandon. You think that the most likely landing spot for Deshaun Watson is going to be in New York?
All right. Well, let me separate my fandom from my video the other day.
Hard to do.
I feel like this podcast, I feel like I have to be more objective. So here's what I think. I think that here's the Deshaun Watson situation in a nutshell. He's requested a trade. He has a no trade clause, which means that he gets to decide where he goes. The Texans cannot shop him across all teams interested and take the best deal. It's not an option. He has to approve that, right? So that leaves a few teams. He's already expressed interest in the Jets. He's already spoken he wanted Robert Saleh to actually be the coach of the Texans. There's all sorts of
great coach, by the way.
Yeah. He's looking like a good hire.
Yeah.
But so here's what I think. I think the Jets have the need, the market, the coach, and they have the draft picks to make this happen. So
Can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Yeah.
I want to say fuck you to Chris Brown for sitting on the porch in a t-shirt, and we're bracing for the biggest win of sport. You can continue.
I mean, nothing's stopping you guys from moving down here. I did it. That's why we live down here. I have a strict no north of I-10 clause in my contract, so.
I didn't know he was on. We should move to the Browns right after this. We should talk about the Browns. No, we should. We should highlight the Browns for a second. But I think that the Jets have the most to offer. After that, you have Miami, right? Here's the problem. A lot of people are hyping Miami. Here's my issue, is that you're basically saying that the Texans have to trade Deshaun Watson to Miami to trade back for their third overall pick that they traded away for Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills. So they're basically getting their own pick back with Deshaun Watson. It'll never happen. It just, I don't care. It's just never going to happen, right? After that, you have the Panthers. I just don't see a lot of teams that have the right mix of ability and capital to make it happen and need. So I do think if Deshaun Watson is traded, I would say there's a 75% chance he is a Jet. Yes, I do think so. Fandom aside, I really just looking at everything. It's just,
What are you willing to give up for him?
So that's the big debate, right? Everyone's having that debate. So what I'm willing to give up for him and what I think they'll have to give up for him are different. And everyone's looking at the Stafford trade and saying, "Oh, well, look what they got for Stafford. There's no way the Jets are anyone's going to be able to trade for Watson." So what people aren't considering there is that the reason that they gave up 2 firsts is because of Goff's contract. It's just a different context. Like it's not 1 for 1, right? Mm-hmm. To answer your question, I would be willing to give up a first this year, a first next year. I'd be willing to give up seconds, thirds. I wouldn't give up more than 2 firsts, but I think behind that you can give a lot of second, third, high value picks, while still having a solid draft arsenal, because they really have a lot. If they have 2 firsts this year, they have 2 firsts next year, they have 5 picks in the top 100 this year. They've got plenty to work with. So I mean, I would give 2 firsts. I'd give a second. If they want Sam Darnold, give them that. Give them Jamison Crowder. They want a defensive player, give them a defensive player.
When you say second and thirds, are you saying second and thirds this year also, or just a first for this year?
I would definitely give a first this year. I would give a first. I wouldn't give 2 firsts this year. I wouldn't give 2 firsts in any year. I'd give 2 firsts total. So 1 this year, 1 next. And I would give, if they wanted a second and third this year, if that's the sticking point, we're talking about a top 5 quarterback in his prime. I wouldn't hesitate. I wouldn't start pinching pennies at that point.
Well, that's
25.
Not only are you talking about a top 5 quarterback, like I alluded to yesterday in the video I made, you're talking about a guy that's going to be top 5 in the league for the next 15 years. Quarterbacks are 100%. Playing into their 40s now, so there's no reason why. Yeah, like in my opinion, especially like you figure, okay, a first round pick for Deshaun Watson. If you're the Jets, a first round pick for Deshaun Watson this year, that's worth the number overall 2 pick in my opinion. Going forward, you don't plan on being in the top 10. And how many first round draft picks, like picks say 15 through 32, ever really turn out to, it's a crapshoot just like the second round. So in my opinion, if you're constantly drafting in that part, you want to be trading for more second rounds because you just want more chances anyway. So yeah, give that up. Who cares? Like it's not, you're not going to get Deshaun Watson in the draft. So you get him when you can.
Sure. And the thing with that is that, as long as they have a first each year, it's fine as far as I'm concerned. And the thing with the Texans, I was actually looking at the picks they have. Like, I don't think people realize how dire their situation is. They don't pick until the 3rd round, and then they have like a 3rd and like 3/5. They have and we're talking about a team that has holes everywhere, right? They have, their cap is a disaster. They need picks more than anything. I mean, you have a situation where your star quarterback wants out. They just have to accept that and move on, right? Because you can't, here's the thing. Everyone's like, oh, the Texans don't have to trade him. No, they don't have to trade him. They could tell him to sit and hold out. But what's that doing for them? They still don't have draft picks. And then he's eventually going to get traded anyway, except this time, if he holds out, you're getting less. every month that goes by, they will get less, especially post-draft. Forget it. I mean, what are they going to get? They're going to get a first. That's what we're talking about. Because all these GMs know that they have no leverage. They can turn around and say, we're not trading him. We want him here. And that's all well and good. But at the end of the day, if the Texans really wanted Deshaun Watson there, Culley wouldn't be the coach. Caserio wouldn't be the GM. And they would have done this before they made these hires. Their actions say, we don't care what you think. If they really did feel that way, they wouldn't be in this situation. So their leverage is gone. It's non-existent as far as I'm concerned. The question becomes, who's willing to offer the most, and how do you define the most based on the actual situation? Because these GMs are going to try to come in and say, I'll give you 2 firsts. No? Okay, then your problem, not mine. Someone's going to blink.
I think GMs are going to try to lowball Houston because 100%. They know they're in a crapshoot right now. They know they're fucked.
Absolutely. And normal situation, he wasn't holding out, or this wasn't a situation, he's commanding 4 firsts. Easily. I mean, we're talking about like a franchise building draft pool and probably a Pro Bowler.
We're talking Herschel Walker territory.
Absolutely. But they're not going to get that.
He's 25. Good luck. He's 25.
25. So good luck to Houston with their new GM telling their fans, yeah, we didn't trade Watson and now he's not going to play for us at all. And now we don't have a quarterback or picks. Or JJ Watt, who's going to run out the door any second. So
that's a whole other story, isn't it?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, just looking at it from the Texans' point of view, their best thing is just to blow it up at this point. Trade Watt, trade Watson. Because, like, just going back and we can talk about another team, but just because we keep talking about the Jets, to me, the Jet, like, I agree. Like, I know Andy and I were throwing around trades for the Browns and the Eagles the other day, but the Jets make the most sense to me because if nothing else, you can get Darnold and that second pick. And like you just alluded to, they don't have picks. You can trade that second pick back and get, kind of like what Seattle did the other year where they signed Russell Wilson to the long-term deal, and then they started trading back all their other picks just to accumulate more picks.
Yep.
And that's I mean, just going full rebuild mode. Just do it. Yep. Trade whatever people will take and just start over because that's where they're at. They're back in expansion mode right now.
Yeah, they are. And the reason I feel so strongly about the Jets, and I promise, it's partly because I'm a Jet fan, but really the reason is like you look at all these other teams, right? You look at all these other teams, and it's not just making the trade; it's after that. So you have to have a situation where you've got draft capital and cap space, right? And what the problem is, so for example, Atticus, I've heard giant people calling into Sports Radar saying, the Giants should trade for Watson. And the response is like, okay, you can put together a package. It's going to be Saquon. It's going to be 2 firsts. But then what happens? Then you have to let Dalvin Tomlinson go. You have to let Leonard Williams go. You don't have the cap flexibility to make it happen. So is it worth it for those teams? And this is where it's like, yeah, sure, tons of teams can put together a trade package, but that's half the battle. The Jets are in a situation where they could put the draft, that they could put the package together and still have $60 million in cap space to sign Allen Robinson, to sign an offensive guard, still have picks, still build a team. I would say 99% of teams can't say that. Maybe the Dolphins, maybe. I just don't see it.
But see, I still think with that, like, even if you are the Giants or someone like that where it might cause a couple cap casualties in the meantime, I don't know how many years Watson has left on his current deal. But the key with him is he's only a $30 million cap hit. And through just discussions we've had this year, like Baker Mayfield is going to be getting somewhere around there. So if you can tell me you can lock up Deshaun Watson for 3-4 more years, however many years he's got left on his contract, and only pay $30 million a year for him, like if I have to sacrifice my number 2 receiver to do that, you do that. Like I don't see how you don't do that because that's for a top 4 quarterback. That's a bargain. You're not going to get that kind of deal.
Here's the thing, and the Browns are a good example though, because the Browns before they got Baker Mayfield had about like 4 firsts every year. Like they built first, and then they filled holes with trades. They got Jarvis Landry, they got OBJ, they got their line together. If a team like the Giants were to trade for Deshaun Watson, and they could, but then what we're talking about is their line still has issues, and now they've given up draft capital, and now they don't have Saquon, and now they're losing a receiver and defensive lineman. It's like, at what point? Like my question still remains, by the way, on the Giants is what is their plan? Like, are they rebuilding? Are they not? Like, I'm still not sure.
Don't ask me because I don't fucking know.
Well, what their plan should be is firing Gettleman. That's what their plan should be. But
and I want to say one other thing. the talk, and you hear it on sports radio. I get all these different feeds that come through about this is what the Giants should do to acquire Deshaun Watson. They don't even account for the fact that Gettleman is our general manager. He ain't trying to get him. They kicked it around, but that's not the way that he operates. So it's not going to happen.
No, true. And when the problem for Gettleman in that situation, so what's good for Gettleman right now is that he has Daniel Jones. And Daniel Jones, he bought himself 5 years with Daniel Jones, because you can turn around and say we're developing the quarterback. If you trade for Deshaun Watson, you reset your clock. And you're basically saying to the world, we're winning, right? So if you don't win in the next year or two, you're gone in a Dave Gettleman situation, right? Because you're reversing course. So it's tough. I mean, it would be great for the Giants. It's just a tough situation.
I'll tell you what, if Deshaun Watson, and I think that the chances of him going to the Jets are higher than anywhere else, he goes to the Jets. Can you imagine how competitive that division is going to be?
Yeah.
That is going to be a fun division to watch, kind of like the AFC North and the NFC South. I would love to see that happen because, first of all, Tom Brady is gone. And the argument of who did it, Belichick or Brady, I think that has been answered, right?
Yeah.
But Josh Allen, I don't know about Tua right now. I'm not sure I'm buying into him in Miami and what he's capable of doing. I mean, the fact that they were even having a discussion of do we throw Fitz back in or let Tua, you wouldn't have that if you really bought into this kid, you know?
Yeah.
And what was the other one that I was thinking of? Oh, and the Patriots, you still can't count Belichick out. You really can't, because
Can I interject there? Can I interject there? Belichick is overrated in my opinion. Now, don't get me wrong, great coach, but coaches can only take their team so far. It's down to the players. And we said now this year we finally settled the Brady Belichick debate. That was settled years ago. Every time an assistant of Belichick's went off and couldn't implement a system that worked anywhere else because they didn't have Tom Brady, that's what settled that. Brady was Belichick's system. Is there a fit, a little bit where Belichick was part of it and put him in position? Sure, but that's what the coach does. Belichick doesn't have a system I can identify and say, this is what Belichick does. He runs the ball. That's really what does Belichick do? What does he do that you say, yeah, that's Belichick's offensive system? What's a player you look at and say, yeah, that player would do well in Belichick's system? You can't do that because there is no system.
You can take a look at a bunch of his quarterbacks that have gone on to other teams and have thrived, all being taught and groomed under his system and his different coaches and his coaching staff and the expectations.
Who?
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah. Who?
Yeah.
Matt Castle got an unbelievable fucking deal and didn't deserve it.
Exactly.
He got a deal from somewhere else, but
you can point to
that's the thing though. All his coordinators went somewhere else and couldn't implement anything.
Believe me, there's an argument to support everything that you're saying, but there's the one to support the other side too. So if you're going to sit here and say to me that Bill Belichick is a pedestrian type coach, if it weren't for Tom Brady, he would not have gone as far.
No. Let me rephrase what I said. So Bill, in the realm of coaching, he's top notch, top 2, top 3 all time. But what I'm saying is I don't think coaching matters as much as the players.
Okay.
And so
I agree with that.
And on top of that, Bill Belichick, the thing that no one talks about, the dude is horrible in the draft. Name a good player they've drafted in the last 5. The last couple they drafted the tight ends. And those are back when. I can't name name a receiver, a worthwhile receiver they've drafted with any of their draft picks in the last 5, 6, 7 years. I mean, there's a reason why Tom Brady wanted out. He was taking pay cuts and they couldn't put anything around him because
if we're being honest, he's had good defenses, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think defense is more of an X's and O's thing, where offense you actually need a plan.
Well, here's my question about their defenses. Is it really that their defenses were that good, or is it more that the other teams had to play catch up with Tom Brady constantly and made their defense look better because they were able to pin their ears back? Which was it?
Now, look at the Super Bowl where they played the Atlanta Falcons. Their defense did what they needed to do and gave Tom Brady the opportunity to do what he had. Now, Tom Brady made 7 impossible things happen in that Super Bowl, in order to complete that comeback and win, which was probably one of the most amazing Super Bowls I've ever seen, just based on the fact that he had to get, I think, 3 2-point conversions, score with no timeouts on the clock, 1 minute and 2 seconds, some shit like that. It was just unbelievable. So I'm just saying there's an argument for both sides of it. I think that with Bill Belichick still coaching the Patriots, and I don't think he's going to retire, that him being the X factor in New England is going to make that a competitive division.
Well, let me ask you this question though, and I'm glad we're talking about this because it's like I almost think about Patrick Mahomes now. Is it that the Chiefs' defense is good, or is it more that the other team plays differently because they know that Patrick Mahomes is going to get the ball back and they play different and they press? Was that the same thing with Tom Brady, where the offenses were pressing and afraid to make a mistake because you make a single mistake, you're done, right? Like they knew this. So it's just this very similar thing. Like, and don't get me wrong, I think Andy Reid's a great coach, but I think this is a lot more to do with Patrick Mahomes than Andy Reid. Honestly, I really
agree,
do.
100%.
So
I just think that Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes are some next level shit, and then there's everybody else. To be honest, so you have to approach them differently, come up with a game plan for them. But I don't know. Are we segueing into the Super Bowl? Is that what that was just then?
I guess we could, or we could give the Browns their moment in the sun because they kind of deserve it.
We can. I'm even wearing the T-shirt.
Let me make one last comment about the Jets, right? Like you mentioned it in your live stream the other day, Gorky, about you get Deshaun Watson, you're highly attractive to other players, right? And you mentioned Allen Robinson. There are 3 top receivers that are free agents this year. You got Godwin, you got Robinson, and you got Galladay. Right? Like you got 3 top receivers that the Jets have the cap space to fucking sign and give Watson a fucking weapon.
And what do you think all these players are retweeting Watson to the Jets? Allen Robinson's lobbying for Robinson to the Jets. Richard Sherman's lobbying for Watson. Do you think they're doing it for their health? No, they're doing it because they want him there so they can sign. It's basically like they're trying to construct a team like that. I'm not saying this would be like LeBron to Miami in the same outcome. I'm not saying that, but it's the same idea where they're trying, like they talk to each other. They know what's going on. You know, they know Watson can't say these things publicly, but Allen Robinson can. You know, Richard Sherman knows that, you know, Watson can't say it, but Richard Sherman can. Brandon Marshall knows that he can't say it, but he can. You know, like there's a concerted effort right now. And it's just too much talk to just be this. There's something going on. And it all centers around Robert Saleh. And you know, everyone loves this guy. So, and that is because of Joe Douglas. So there's a lot of good, and that's why I'm like not usually this optimistic after a 2-win season, but Gase is gone. Like this team just feels like it's going to be very different very quickly. That's it. And Watson is a catalyst for all that. So if that happens, I don't know, man. a lot. It'll be a lot of dominoes that fall. It'll be linemen. It'll be receivers. It'll be all sorts of stuff going on.
Well, and just to piggyback on what you're saying, I truly think there seems to be a lot of support for Saleh. I think a lot of players around the league like him. Like withholding this past season, don't get me wrong. Obviously, I missed on Stefanski, and that was a great hire for the Browns. He came in, and we had the pieces for his system that worked. But that Saleh's who I wanted last year. Like you can go look at, and that's who I was talking about. That's who I wanted because he seems to have this pull with players, and I think you're going to see that in New York.
Yeah, for sure. And I watched his press conference because, you know, I've never really, I know about him, but I don't know a ton about him. Just watching his press conference, I can tell you, he's genuine. He's genuine. Like you could tell he means what he's saying. He's not just saying, like, he really cares about his players. He's very focused. He's very much about improving every single day. Like just the stuff you hear coaches say in press conferences, but you could tell when he's saying it, he means what he's saying. Like he's not just saying it. Like he said something like, my goal in life is to make the players feel like they're my kids. And I will do for my kids the same I will do for them. And my goal is to put them in a position to get paid more. And I was like, this guy's awesome. I get it now. I see why all these players love this guy. Like he really cares. He cares. So I think they got a good one. And they got a good staff around him too. They got LaFleur as the offensive coordinator. Ulbrich is our defense. He's putting a good staff together. Miles Austin is our wide receiver coach. You know, it's a good hire. I'm excited. You know, we'll see. And by the way, Watson or no Watson, if we don't get Watson, it's okay because we still have 5 picks in the top 100. We still have 2 firsts. It's okay.
If you don't get Watson, would you rather see them draft a QB with 2, or do you want to see them keep Darnold and maybe build? Because I don't think Darnold's washed up. I think he, for lack of a better way to put it, he's been Brownsed. He had multiple coordinators. He had bad systems around him. Like, there didn't seem to be a plan. That was a Cleveland Browns situation.
Here's what I could tell you about Sam Darnold. He has regressed since his rookie year. And to your point, like, I can't assess Sam Darnold because what they did to him was they basically drafted him, then they gave him Adam Gase. They took all his weapons away. They did nothing to improve the team on that side of the ball. So like when we're sitting here saying Sam Darnold's bad, it's like, well, I mean, of course he is. Like, his number one receiver was Jamison Crowder. And nothing wrong with Jamison Crowder, but he's not a number one receiver.
He's not number one, yeah.
Like, Brashad Perriman was his go-to target deep. I mean, what are we talking about? Braxton Berrios? Like,
yeah, they poured all that money into Bell, and then he played like 10 games and then left. Yeah.
Yeah, like so they buried Sam Darnold. So it's hard for me to say, like, and that's why I hesitate, because like part of me says, if that's the case, maybe just keep Sam Darnold and see what you have. But on the other hand, it's like I worry, did they do too much damage? Like, can you fix this? Or because sometimes you can really yeah, exactly. Like, you can ruin a guy. Like, it happens, right? So
David Carr got ruined in Houston.
Ruined, wrecked. The Jets ruined Mark Sanchez. I honestly don't think look at how Mark Sanchez started his career. He was okay. And then what happened? They took all his talent away. He had no receivers. He had no this. He had no that. And then he sucked, and his career was ruined. And we've seen it before in New York. Happens all the time. So I don't know. The answer, I really don't know the answer. I don't know. I will trust the coaching staff to make that decision.
Because I feel like Darnold, like, just looking at Darnold, I feel like he's better than, well, let me put it this way. I don't think Fields or any, like, outside of Lawrence, I don't see any of those other quarterbacks being an upgrade to what you have in Darnold. Like, none of them stand out as like the go-to guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And we could consider the Jets also have 2 firsts next year. So do you just give him another year and use this year to build the team? So if he doesn't work out, you draft the quarterback? That's a possibility. It's a total possibility. Yeah.
Speaking of mishandling quarterbacks, what about the shit show that took place out in Philly? Are we even going to talk about that?
Do we need to talk about that today? I mean, there's so many other things we can talk about.
Lloyd's over there trying to enjoy his Sunday, man. What are you doing to him?
I'm taking the position that I'm going to sit back. Like, I fucking hate Howie. I think he's a terrible GM. I think that he was given the golden goose when he let Chip Kelly essentially get rid of all the bad contracts that Philly had and gave him a huge pull to do what they did to get to the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
But outside of that, what has he fucking done as a GM? Not much. Can't draft a wide receiver. Always.
What are you talking about? He brought back Djax.
Yeah.
Come on.
3 plays in 2 seasons. 3 plays. They were entertaining. They were super entertaining plays. Those 3 plays in 2 years was awesome. But
I have a question for you. As a former kindred spirit with the Browns, is the high worth the low right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. They won a Super Bowl. So, and I'm gonna try to tap into you a little bit, because I don't know who Nick Sirianni is, right? But he's got a similar track record that Kevin Stefanski did. I wanted Salah as well. Didn't get him. He goes to the Jets. So this dude
would have been a great pick for you guys.
We like Italians in South Philly, so maybe it works out. But like, I'm holding my breath, man. I'm gonna let it play out. I'm gonna see how we draft, and I'll go from there, man. But like, they're in bad shape right now. That's all I know.
Mike, you got way more optimism than I do.
They have a quarterback controversy that no one's called a controversy, right? I disagree with most people. I think Hurts has an athletic ability, but as a quarterback, I don't think he's that good in the NFL, right? Like, his numbers are not that good. Carson Wentz is very similar to Jared Goff, where, his second and third season in the league were lights out, but neither one of them have done anything stellar the last 2 seasons. So he's regressed tremendously. Is that the line?
So
Is that coaching? Is that
what was his
Wentz?
numbers at the end of the season? What was his numbers?
Who, Wentz?
No, Hurts. What were his numbers when he finished? What did he finish the season with a QBR?
Lower than Wentz's. Lower than Wentz's.
Yeah, I guess I'll just never understand why you draft if you have a quarterback that you're paying money to. Like, I'm not opposed to never drafting another quarterback, but you don't draft him in the first 3 rounds, because that to me,
Thank you.
that to me puts immediate pressure. Like, I have no problem. Like, I honestly think you should. If you have a whoever, a Patrick Mahomes, if you have a Deshaun Watson, whoever your starting quarterback is, and you're paying him money, I have no problem with, like, yeah, a 6th round, you take a small school kid from wherever the fuck, and you just, hey, you never know, you groom him as a thing, and maybe you draft, trade capital later. That's fine and good. But when you draft a 2nd or a 3rd round or a late 1st round quarterback, you're giving a message to the guy you just gave a big contract to, and I don't see how that helps anyone out. Like, I don't see any way you're improving your team by drafting a backup quarterback that high.
And unless Howie is this fucking prodigal son and he knows what the fuck he's doing, which I don't think he does, right? But like, if he is, he drafts somebody that could be an asset, right? We didn't know what was going to happen with college football, right? So we didn't know that there would be a lot of tape on people, but there was tape on Jalen Hurts. So maybe it's just he drafted it as an asset. I think he reached in the 2nd round. I don't think Hurts would have gone in the 2nd round. I question whether or not he would have gone in the 3rd round.
Thank you.
So like, why are you drafting that high for somebody that would have been a late 3rd, 4th round pick?
Well,
Makes no sense.
And again, even ignoring drafting that high, it's still, you're sending a message to Wentz at that point. Like, regardless of, like, if he could have gone to the 4th rounder, like, take how good Hurts is out of it. Drafting a quarterback in the 2nd round sends a message to your current quarterback. Like, I just don't understand. Just being an outsider looking at it, it seems like it's Wentz and Ertz versus everybody else on that team. Like, they seem buddy, and then they don't seem to get along with the coach. They don't seem to get along with the GM. And that's why Ertz is walking. That's why they're, like, drafting quarterbacks in the 2nd round when they have obvious needs everywhere else on the team. Like, the defense is decent, but, like, Wentz didn't have a healthy receiver or a healthy offensive line all year. Like, and you're wasting high draft picks on a backup quarterback. Like, I don't understand. Now, this is me just sitting here, in sunny Florida. You guys can see it. But
go fuck yourself.
Chris, I hope your cat shits in your shoe.
I mean, he might. I haven't fed him yet today, so he very well could. But no, I mean, I get that there are people that get paid a lot of money to make these decisions, and I'm not one of them. But it just makes no sense. Like, I feel like I've seen enough, like, watched enough football to understand. If you like your current quarterback, you don't draft another one high. Like, here, especially when you have other needs.
It's called dysfunctional. They are a dysfunctional team right now. And letting Ertz go is not a good idea. Well, I don't care how good Goddard is. You have 2 solid fucking tight ends, man. Stay with it. And you mentioned line and receivers. Wentz hasn't had either one for 2 years.
Right.
And he got sacked 50 times this year in 12 games. That's insane. Some of those are on him. I'm not going to deny that. Some of those are on him. He likes to extend plays and, doesn't make good decisions. But, like, when you don't have a line at all and you're playing with 13 different combinations of an offensive line in 14 games, you can't – there's no chemistry. There's, at all. Atticus knows that.
My deep down fear is that Wentz somehow ends up with the Steelers. That's my fear in all of this. So please keep him. Please keep him in the NFC East.
I think Wentz goes to the Niners and Garoppolo goes back to the Patriots. That's what I think.
Really? You think after everything that they've done, they're going to get after he convinced his ownership to get rid of your coach that they're going to keep Wentz? I mean, they're going to trade Wentz?
You can't have both on the team next year. Just can't.
I don't know. I think they went all in on Wentz. I don't know.
So then Hurts goes somewhere.
Yeah, they have to trade one of them, right?
You cannot have both of them on the team next season.
Yeah.
And I feel kind of bad for Hurts because he seems like a decent dude. Like, he seems like a guy who just
got
drafted. And he's like, doing his thing. And
I'm sorry, did you say Ertz or Hurts?
Hurts.
Because Ertz is out too.
I'd like to see Ertz on the Browns, but that probably wouldn't happen.
I'd like to see him on the Giants. Shit.
What
we
is
could have
what is
tight end. I'd be real fucking happy.
Well, you got to get rid of that Pro Bowler, though, man.
What kind of cap hit is a high end tight end? What kind of cap hit would Ertz command? Like 15? What is that guy?
I don't think Ertz commands. Well, one, he's under contract for this season, so it would have to be a trade. So that's number one.
No, I'm sorry, I meant Ertz, not Hurts. The tight
end.
Ertz
is not a free agent. Ertz is under contract.
Okay, I thought he was.
No, it would have to be a trade, right? I don't think he commands Kittle money or Kelsey money at all. So 14.
The Browns we're already paying Hooper more than Kelsey and Kittle for now.
Who?
Hooper. Austin.
I think that with Ertz, it's not his abilities that comes into question, or his age for that matter. It's his durability. Can he remain healthy? I mean, hasn't he been injured for the past 2 seasons at different points?
Definitely last season, because he was the only person that could catch a ball, and he was just getting lit up in the middle of the field.
Yeah. I mean, didn't he break a record or some shit 2 seasons ago?
Yeah, 122
catches.
Yeah, I was gonna say 121, but yeah.
He's reliable. I mean, if he can stay healthy, he's got value. Don't get me. Somebody will trade for him. Hopefully it's the New York Giants, but they won't do that in the division.
My question is, if we trade Hurts, who do we have when and if Wentz gets hurt next season?
You could make an offer for Dwayne Haskins with the Steelers.
That brings joy to. Can you say that again? That brings joy to my life. Can you say that one more time?
Dwayne Haskins on the Steelers. Oh, by the way, Ben said,
okay, I'm good. Continue.
That he wants to play another year, so there's a gift for you, Roman.
Fitzpatrick's a free agent.
Yeah, that guy knows how to win too.
He does.
He knows how to win on a 1-year deal. The second you sign that guy to a long, because Buffalo did that. He went to Buffalo and lit it up, and then they signed him to a long-term deal, and he was off the team within 2 years.
Yeah,
he's a feast or famine quarterback too. Like it's not sustainable through an entire season.
Right.
So speaking of injured quarterbacks, what do you guys think happens with Dak? Do you think he just stays on the Cowboys?
They're a fool if they don't. Let me just say that.
I feel bad for him because they're going to get him for less money than he deserves, for sure. I mean, with that injury, he should have signed that deal that they made him in the first place.
Yep.
So I feel bad for him in that sense, but fuck them, shit. It's the Cowboys. That's what they do.
But even at less than he deserves, we're talking about what? Like he was asking 40, so he'll probably get like, what do you think he's going to get? Like 35, 32?
They offered him 34 or 35.
Yeah.
I think he deserved the 40 that they offered him. He was too stupid to take it. Fucking idiot. Then he's sitting there. I bet you that fucking, but beyond the injury and the pain, once that pain started to wear down a little bit, I know he was thinking about how he should have signed that fucking deal.
Yep. What were they offering him? It was like 38, wasn't it? 38, 39, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be happy with that. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't think there's a single contract in the NFL right now that I would not take, first of all.
Right.
I mean, I don't feel bad for Dak because he's the one that was an asshole and held out because he wanted overall money and not thinking about, payout if something happened to him.
Yeah.
They offered him 5 for like 175, so like 35 a year. He wanted 45 or more a season.
Well, it's his own stupidity. He thought that he could do what Zeke did, and it didn't work. Zeke was in fucking Cabo negotiating. Fuck y'all, I ain't coming to work. Pay me. And it worked.
I mean, honestly, a lot of these dudes do the same thing. They look at overall money and they don't look at the payout. Like, what happens if I get hurt?
One of
Prove some
kills me as a
injury, too, by
financial
the way.
advisor. I watch Hard Knocks every year, and there's inevitably a guy talking about the rule of 72. And I'm like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. I need to start talking to these guys and investing their money for them because they don't know what the hell they're doing.
No, they really don't.
It's hilarious.
Isn't there
I've got a question. Probably an obvious question. Is it Brady or Mahomes next Sunday? Who's taking it?
Okay, but we got to factor in the players that Mahomes has lost because of COVID.
Who did he lose because of COVID? I didn't hear about it.
Hold on.
Wait, he lost people because of COVID?
I'm pretty sure.
I didn't hear about that. Please elaborate.
I'm doing my search real quick. My brain is not functioning at full capacity today.
If he didn't lose Kelsey or
Hill.
Tyreek Hill, it don't matter. He could have 3 healthy offensive linemen and still make shit happen out there. He got a real nice running back tandem. He's probably got the best receiver combination. Well, I don't know. Brady's got a pretty good one too, but Brady's not Mahomes.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Tampa Bay wins.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, and here's why. They're playing lights out for the last 6 or 7 weeks. And historically, when a team goes into a Super Bowl like that, they usually win. I.e., your New York Giants, the Eagles did it.
Hold on a second. The same thing could be said for the New England Patriots when we played them. Them motherfuckers went 18-0. That's lights out.
Yeah, but like they didn't have any adversity throughout the season, man. You know, and I'm telling you, the Giants were playing lights out throughout those playoffs. Like their defense was playing lights out.
Mike, say that again for me, please.
No, it's already recorded. I don't need to say it again. I mean, when you look at that year, though, like legitimately, I hate the fucking Giants, but I got to keep it real. Like their defense wasn't a top 10 defense that season, but when it came to the end of the year and into the playoffs, they just went to another level. And they just turned it on, and it was lights out. Like the offense wasn't lighting it up in the playoffs that year. It was the defense.
Well, if you take a look at the defenses of the both teams that's participating in the Super Bowl, you got to give the nod to Tampa Bay for sure.
I mean, they went to Lambeau and shut down fucking Aaron Rodgers, and everybody and their mother said Aaron Rodgers was going to the Super Bowl.
I thought that too.
All right, so 3 update. Chiefs are actually good. They're only missing 1 defensive tackle.
Am I the only one working today? Is this real right now?
I did my office duty yesterday,
so I'll be working today.
Market's not open, so I can't work. So
I am currently missing my Knicks, and that makes me sad.
And I'm going with Kansas Chiefs because fuck Brady.
That's probably the best work analyzing this game I've heard all day. Because fuck Brady.
I just, I can't sit here and say that Brady is not one of the best quarterbacks of all time.
The GOAT?
Yeah, but to me, he is one of the most boring players to watch.
Unless he's playing in the Super Bowl against Atlanta.
That was probably one of the only games in the last 5 years I can think of that I actually enjoyed watching him play. Other than that, he is so fucking boring.
I'm gonna say Chiefs just because I don't want to see another Bad Boys for Life video when the if Tom Brady wins. So
What that?
and honestly, I don't want 15 more
made
posts
a
from
video?
Matthews on. That whole thing just annoys the hell out of me.
No, I didn't hear anything about that. There's a video?
Yeah, him and Gronk.
Oh yeah, every year they did it before when they beat the Chiefs in the AFC. They did they're like walking to the video and they're just like making faces. You can Google it. And then when they beat the Packers this past season, they recreated it. It's just they're playing Bad Boys for Life in the background. They're just like holding up their championship T-shirts and whatnot. And it's just
I could watch Gronk do some shit like that. I don't want to watch Brady do it. I fucks with Gronk.
Oh, Brady's and in the videos, Brady has like the most punchable face I've ever seen in my life.
His face is always
my monitor and smack him around a little bit.
He always has the most punchable face.
Put him on a piñata. That'd be great, right? We should do that at the next Trash Talk barbecue. Put Tom Brady's face on a fucking piñata.
You just stole the words out of my mouth.
Make Matt take the first 2 swings.
Oh, Atticus, if we are able to have a barbecue this summer, like I'm creating a bandwagon fan trophy just for Matt.
Yeah, I'll pitch in. That shit is unbelievable.
It's unacceptable. It's embarrassing.
It really is. Like it defies everything that this group's name was built on. We're real fucking fans, right? Jeez.
Should change the name of the group to Fuck Your Quarterback.
For real. All right, I think this was productive for our first podcast. No?
I agree.
We covered a lot of topics.
I think we segued nicely into next week for a little Super Bowl preview.
Yeah, I wish Andy would have been able to join us.
Since he is managing 2 bars in Key West in prime season, we should see if there's a time next Sunday that he can get out for an hour and kind of do this around his schedule.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm down.
I need to go see him. I've been meaning to, just with everything going on. I've been a little leery of Key West.
Yeah. He said that his restaurants are operating at capacity and have been for some time now.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's because Florida doesn't give a fuck about coronavirus.
We really don't. Not even. We don't even pretend to. Kind of.
Wait, I heard that DeSantis was doing a marvelous job.
No, DeSantis is a moron. Like how that guy became a naval officer says everything I've ever known about the Navy.
The way that it's described in certain parts of the media, he's doing swimmingly well. You've not heard this?
We're gonna keep this football related. I can go on for another 3 hours about my grievances with DeSantis.
I agree. All right, guys, I'm gonna keep it moving.
One last question, if you guys have a minute. Where do you think Rodgers ends up? You think he stays in Green Bay? Or did you guys already talk about it? I know I joined a little late.
Yeah, I think he stays in Green Bay. I think he's got unfinished business there.
Yeah,
I do.
He's not leaving.
I think that was the biggest fucking coaching blunder of the playoffs when they did not go for that 4th and 7 to score to get the 2-point conversion to tie. I think that was just a catastrophe. That was just as bad. No, it wasn't, because this was a Super Bowl, but it was almost as bad as the decision not to give the ball to fucking Marshawn Lynch in that Super Bowl. Almost as bad.
That play was the 5th time in my 34 years that I have heard my dad use a curse word.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Alrighty then. I couldn't believe it. I think to answer your question, I don't see him leaving Green Bay. I mean, he is Green Bay, and Green Bay is him, So I don't see it. It could happen. Shit, money talks though, right?
I'm just going to go out on a limb and say Green Bay has been one of the most mismanaged teams. They've had, how many other teams have had consecutive quarterbacks to the caliber of MVP Brett Favre and then MVP Aaron Rodgers and have managed to win. Did Favre win 2 in Green Bay or just one?
He won one.
Yeah, so they've won 2 Super Bowls in the last 20 years, and they've had some of the best QB play out of and quarterback supposedly the one position you need. Like, and then you just surround him with things, and they haven't been able to do it. That blows my mind.
Great point. Great point.
2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, they went undefeated until the playoffs.
Yeah, they were like 15-1 when we faced them in the second round on our way to the Super Bowl and destroyed them. So you're right. You're right. They look like dog shit. They were the first round. They had a first round bye. They were number 1 seed.
I mean, I get part of it probably is Green Bay because I'm sure it's hard as hell, regardless of who you got, to attract stuff like anybody to go play in Green Bay, Wisconsin. But it just blows my mind how, like, for as inept as the Browns are, at least we've had garbage players the whole time. You know, like it'd be one thing if we had Aaron Rodgers and still were as infeudal as we were. By the way, Browns are your 2022 Super Bowl champions. Go ahead and write that down.
Well, I mean, this is being recorded, so it's going to live on in infamy.
It is. It's happening. 2022 Super Bowl champ. Well, the 2021 season, 2022 year. It's happening. I don't care. It's going to happen. It's happening.
I still have the crack pipe you made me, Jordan. We'll hand it to him in the near future.
So I just need to show you guys, there's a reason why Rob will never go to North Carolina without me unsupervised, because I now have a beautiful set of sterling silver serving utensils with deer antlers on the end.
Oh my. Okay.
It's like you live in Altoona. That's some Altoona shit right there.
We had an hour fight over why he was not bringing the giant stuffed turkey home with him.
Oh my. That is quite interesting.
Yeah.
Is it cold up there? You guys are wearing hoodies and a hat.
It's snowing.
Right now?
There's a snowstorm for the next week.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh, I love
really
it.
bad.
You want to see what I'm looking at? You want to see what my view looks like? I can flip this around.
Here's my view. Right there.
Yeah.
Hold on, I got you guys. Hold on. See if we can see here. That's a lake you can see out there. You got some palm trees. Got the lake right out there. It's real nice. It's real nice.
I really hope you wake up and there's an alligator in your living room.
I mean, it's happened before. So no, actually, that's never happened before. But what has happened is I used to live, like they call them garage apartments because they're like, you know, apartment communities. They have their garages and they have like little apartments above them. And I was coming down the stairs. There's just this huge old snake, and I called into work that day. I just went back in my apartment and said, nope. Actually, out here in Florida, if there's an alligator less than I think it's 4 feet. Animal control won't come and do anything about it because there'd be too many calls. So
if that is not Florida.
Less than 4 feet.
Yep.
Here, Chris, I'm just gonna give you my view right now. If you can see that.
Yeah, don't miss that at all. Not even kind of.
All right, guys.
All right, y'all.
It's good chopping it up. I will see you guys real soon.
You got
Later,
it.
guys.
Same time, or we'll find out later.
We'll find out.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
You will be notified.
Take it easy, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.